here, Pamela Annie Zell, and here is Dr. Jeffrey Fanning. Hit it, Jeff. What's up?
Yeah. Oh, it's so much fun, when we do these things, and we'll have to put together a highlight reel or a bloopers reel or something for people, so they can see some of these fun things that we deal with when recording. I think this particular episode is going to be really fun, where we're talking about um, being able to have that gift of revelation, be able to utilize that. So I'm going to let you explain it, because I'll just mess it up. Go ahead.
All right, I'm just going to jump in it then. We have some really funny things to share with those bloopers and stuff, like the phone ringing 3 times, or my husband sneezing really loudly in the other room, or my dogs deciding that they're going to bark. I'm like, yeah. Really? All right, so today was the fly. All right, so here we go. This one is about having the power of having visions and revelations. And we already are having that in our lives. Whether you recognize it or not, you have these powers already. You can just dial it in more and enjoy it more and more. And basically is a vision, or having a vision, or envisioning something is a form of being able to have a vision. And it's like a little video softly going off in your head, but you can see it. And I know when I design homes and I designed landscaping and whatnot, that I can see it already done. And then if I don't get it, I'll say, okay, I don't quite get that part. Because anytime you draw anything up and you have it on a piece of paper, it's not 3D, and there's always transitionary areas where people are like, okay, what are we supposed to do with that? And I'll say, okay, can you show me, can you zoom in on that one and show that to me? And they will show me the details of that shifting and changing. And it really is like having a little video going off in your head. The reason I can say that you already have this is because you know how to dream. And in dreams, you can have visions and revelations happen to you. And sometimes just leave a piece of paper beside the bed and jot some of that stuff down. But you can also have those visions and revelations when you're awake. Why? Because you know how to daydream. If you know how to daydream, you're already having it happen for you. It's pretty fabulous, right?
And that's really kind of amazing as you're talking about that. And I'm having a little bit of a flashback here to one of these things that happened to me, because I really wasn't trying. This was probably back in 1988 or something like that. This is when I was flying for Lake Powell Air Service as I was making my way up to the airlines. And we would fly a lot of people through the Grand Canyon and so forth, or we would fly river runners, and pick them up and things like that. And so this one time, and I haven't told this story to only a few people, so I'm telling it publicly here now. And that is that one morning, as I was, pre-flighting the airplane and stuff, I was flying a Cessna 210, which is like a hot rod sports car of little planes, and that carried 6 passengers. So anyway, I had this vision that came to me, and it was just like I was looking out the front cockpit, the window there, and all of a sudden I mean, this was just a flash. It was just boom, there and gone. And almost like it was a preparation for me, where I was seeing all of the props bent, and so it just kind of came and went. I didn't think anything about it, just went on throughout the day and doing the things. And so basically I picked up the last flight of the day, and it was starting to get dark. And so I'd flown over to pick up the river crew and put them in there. So we had to take off from this. It was like flying off of a dirt aircraft carrier. So you have to get there and get out before it's officially sunset, because you can't do that. It's illegal to do that. So I picked up the river crew, got them in there. So we're flying back over the Grand Canyon. It's a single engine airplane, and flying over the Grand Canyon and at night. And so it's dark out there. And so you can just imagine what that's like. You don't have an extra engine to depend on or whatever. So I'm coming into Page Airport, and starting to make my turn onto final, pulling back throttle and so forth, and getting ready to get set up, put my flaps out, put the gear out, that sort of thing. And so when I pulled the throttles back to get my final approach speed, all of a sudden the engine quit. No cough, no sputter, no warning. And here I've got a plane load of people and it's nighttime and I'm over Lake Powell. So
Wow.
I'm in the worst condition that you could possibly be in. And all of a sudden we're falling out of the sky. And so I don't know if I'm going to crash into the water, and there's a cliff there. And I know that there's kind of an upslope. So in those split seconds that we're going by, and everything seemed like it was in slow motion for me,
Yeah.
this whole vision that was going on. And so in that moment, I decided what I was going to do is called a vertical stall. And so as I got closer down to that upslope, I decided to, pull the yoke right back in my chest. That takes the air out from under the wings and you just fall vertically. So my idea was to use the slope of the terrain to lift me over the chain link fence, or a 7-foot chain link fence. And so as I did that, and as I'm going up the slope, the nose gear of the airplane gets torn off, and the main gear kind of flexes, and a piece of debris or whatever had cut off my vertical stabilizer, so it just went zip and cut it right off. Luckily, that nose gear didn't come through the windshield, or
Right.
it would have ruined the whole day.
Yeah.
So,
We would not be having this conversation.
no, we wouldn't. And so anyway, as we come down, and as far as I know to this day, in the first 2 feet of the runway, there are still 3 prop strikes where my prop had hit, during that time. So as we're coming down, just before I executed that stall, that, I'm thinking, well, I want to execute this maybe 10 feet above the terrain. And at night, your vision is not as
Yeah.
good. You don't have,
Right.
the depth perception that you need. So I probably executed it at 25 or 30 feet. So that's why we hit hard, went up, tore off, and landed. And in the course of all of that, I'm opening the doors and getting ready, thinking, in case there's fire, I got to get people out, all of that sort of thing. So my training just kind of took over and did what we did. So we hit, and then I had enough vertical stabilizer that I could still use that to keep us from flipping over and skidding back and forth, serpentining along the runway. Sparks flying everywhere. And so I get everybody out of the plane, and the plane is just trash, and I'm looking at this, and here are these river runners, the guides and the rafts, people running the rafts, very hardy people, and they're just standing there shaking. Their eyes are big as garbage can lids, and I really didn't have time to give them a good landing briefing. So all of a sudden,
Really?
I said, "Hold
Come on,
on,
Jeff.
we're going in," and that was my landing briefing. And so everybody was okay, everybody was fine, nobody was hurt, but I think that I was being prepared in
Yeah.
that moment with that vision that I saw in the split second,
Split second.
with the props and so forth, that the divine was getting my head and my emotions so that I could handle this in real time. Now, when the NTSB came out and investigated that, they said out of the 5 possible conditions that I could have picked, I picked the only one that saved our lives.
Right.
And I attribute it back to, that split second of that vision that was coming to me. So I know that's a little bit of an intense story, but it really happened to me, and it happened exactly that way.
Right. And what I appreciate you saying too is that there was a place in that time where it felt like you were in slow motion. And that's actually shifting time
Right.
to different dimensions. This is
Right.
definitely part of that quantum field situation where you can shift time to speed it up or slow it down, and
Right.
gave you enough of a breath of time to be able to organize all of this within you as they were pouring it in, because they adore you and they adored every single person on that plane. And The bottom line is, it was not time for you to leave. No one leaves this world until they have completed their life mission. And
Right.
obviously, none of you had completed your life mission yet, and your lives were preserved. I love that. I was flying into Reno one time, and there was some wind shears and stuff going on. It was seriously, seriously a problem. And I was training somebody that was sitting beside me, and all of a sudden, here came these big wind shears coming up. And I had never gone into Reno before, but it was obvious that we were in bad shape. And in fact, you could hear people praying out loud. It was so bad. And I asked for the gentleman to give me a moment. And I knew about the eternal laws about being able to command legions, plural, of angels to come in and right the situation, because one legion is 144,000 beings. I asked the Lord, please send legions of angels to take hold of this plane and arrive it. And I felt that that would be sufficient. And that's exactly what happened. It went in. I mean, it was rough. It was like, didn't look like we were going to make it. And all of a sudden, here came this peace. It just came. We landed perfectly. People who were in the bathroom saying, I was going to pee my pants. I was so scared. I mean, they were really
Yeah.
having an issue with that. But I knew what had actually happened. And I knew that every single one of us
Yeah.
was going to be okay, because I was going to live a very long life. And if I'm going to live a very long life, just people hanging out with me, if we're on a plane and stuff, would be fine. So, yeah. So it worked out really well. Moving forward with this about having visions and revelations, and that was, some stuff was revealed to you that definitely saved the day. Because why? Because you listened and you took action. You listened and you took action. You didn't freeze, you didn't shut down, you trusted, and you allowed yourself to be blessed by that. And that's why, a lot of times we're told that by our faith we are healed, or by our faith these things happen, or just that act of faith. Faith without works, they say, faith without activating it, without taking those few steps that are so pivotally important, cannot bless you. So I'm going to share a story with you. Did you want to share anything else, Jeff?
Well, all I was going to add is something that happened when that was occurring and it was going through in slow motion. I really felt that I was being guided. That my things that I was doing to try and relight the engine and going and just the procedures one after another and going through that, but it felt so easy, felt so calm, rather than the panic of a situation like that. So I really felt that I was being guided, that I was being taken care of in that
Definitely.
moment. So I've got lots of flying stories, but we'll save
Yeah.
them for another day.
Well, and you're describing being in the peace of your hurricane, being
Right,
centered in your hurricane,
right,
where there's that peace, that calm, and where you have that clarity of mind. I mean, that's where all of that starts to happen. And then on the outside, all hell can be breaking loose, but you're staying in that peace and you're commanding in your preferences of what you'd like to see happen for those particular incidences. Perfectly done. Perfectly done.
yeah,
All right. So I'm going to share with you something about what happened with me in China. When I was training in China and teaching people in China, I went over there. My son was actually getting married to this beautiful girl from China, from Kunming. And we were traveling all through China, and I was also training people in China as we were going. And what happened was, um, I only trained people through quantum physics, because I was honoring how the government had things set up. And at the time, they were starting to let religion and higher laws being entering in back into their culture, because the people were so desperately unhappy. I'm not into any particular religion. I can see the hand of the divine in everywhere I go. So I don't get hung up on that kind of stuff. But I do love what they will do for their children and how much they love us. Well, what ended up happening is I was teaching this one young man about being able to have visions and revelations, but through quantum physics. And I said to him, picture, and you can do this too, picture when you first saw me walking in, when you first met me. Can you see that? And he goes, yeah, I can. I said, Well, that's a form of being able to have a vision or to envision something. You are a very visionary person, and you can be able to have this happen for you at any time. And I went on to teach him other laws and how he had the ability to command in miracles in his life through these quantum laws. Well, as it turns out, we're going to the airport and we're getting ready to fly out because we're going to like 14 different places all through China. And uh, everybody's tickets are being okayed. You know, okay, yeah, okay, you can get on the plane. Here's your ticket. Here's your ticket. Here's your ticket. Everybody's getting their ticket. Comes to me, and they say, "Not you. You can't have your ticket." And I'm with this entourage of people, right? And everybody's like, "We can't leave her behind." you know. So everybody's kind of tanked, and they're like, "Oh my gosh." And I pondered it for a moment, and I realized that the divine was providing an opportunity for this young man to be able to command a miracle in his life and mine as well. That it was totally on his shoulders if he would like to be able to have this happen. I was absolutely confident it would happen, but it was important that he was confident. And he was so nervous because he was our guide. And it was important that we leave and move on to the next place that we were supposed to go. So he was very nervous about this. And every time we go up, they'd say, "Nope, not her. Nope, not her. Her passport isn't correct. Her numbers aren't correct. They're not matching." Well, it had been fine everywhere else we were going, but all of a sudden it halted. Everything halted. So I said to him, "Do you remember learning about commanding and how to be able to do anything you'd like to do in your life, that you have the power to do this?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Do you remember picturing and seeing things that you could see in the past, but you can also see in the future?" It goes, "Yes." I said, "Go into the restroom, take some time, really relax. And do you remember the good feeling that you started feeling inside of you when you're connected to this power to command, this quantum physics power?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, now go into the bathroom and get loaded up with that feeling again. Set everything else aside, any worries, any doubts, any fears, and only focus on what you'd love to see happen. And what you'd love to see happen is that you're going to picture yourself now, because now you're going to have revelation, and you're not just a vision, but you're going to have revealed to you how this is going to happen. And you're going to allow yourself to picture walking up to the counter and smiling at the woman and her smiling back at you and asking for my ticket and her handing you the ticket, and here it is. That everything else just leaves, and all these portals and all these doors start opening up for you. But it can only happen if you hold that feeling within you and give zero attention to anything else, because you are the one commanding what's going to happen, and everything will fall into place. So he took some time and got himself refocused. He came back out, and I looked at him and I said, "How you feeling?" He goes, "I'm feeling good." I said, "I'm feeling good too." "Are you holding on to that feeling no matter what?" He goes, "Yeah, I am." I said, "Okay, now go get my ticket." He walks up there, smiles at the woman. She smiles back at him and said, and requested my ticket. She handed him the ticket, and he came and gave me my ticket, and we went on.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And that was after meeting him and only being with him for a couple hours. That's how fast. Because, you'll say, "Well, okay, how is this going to happen?" It will happen very rapidly. If you're seeking this information and you're willing to open up and receive it, it has to pour into you. It has to. It is law.
Right. And so that willingness, I think, is a key ingredient here, because many of us will put that resistance or that wall up before we go to that place of receiving and allowing.
Mhm.
So I think that's a really key point that you bring out there.
Yeah. It totally changed his life, and I ended up sending him my book. He was so thrilled, because he said he now understands that he does have the power to make his life a wonderful life, that he doesn't have to wait for anybody outside of him, that he has the ability.
Right.
So it's a huge thing for him.
Yeah. So I think it's really good if any of the people watching this can think about back in their own lives of when things like that have happened. That maybe we get so caught up in just living our life that we don't think about how to act in those moments, or what we can do to shift things or to have a revelation or to have an impact that we're just not thinking about those things. So I think it's important that we take that inside of ourselves and be able to utilize those things and take a moment to not think about, well, this isn't going to happen, or I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, things like that. To be able to be in that moment, to be
Right.
in that power, to command the vision, to be able to get yourself into that vibrational place where those miraculous things can happen for you, because they are. This is exactly how it works. So I'm very pleased that we're talking about that today.
Yeah. It was just an opportunity instead of treading water, of being
Right,
deliberately living your life with intention
right,
and awe and seeing these amazing things form and happen in your life. You can do it. Everybody has these opportunities. I am not unique.
right.
I'm just an example of what everyone can have as well. And a lot of people are having it.
Well, they're not. And I think it's time for them to start asking their question of themselves: why is this not happening to me? And looking at, what am I doing? How am I living my life? What am I thinking about? Am I living my life on purpose? Do I have the intentions that I want to have happen? Am I meditating? Am I doing the things of my day? So that we are shifting that energy, so that we're carrying that energy around. We're using that energy to interact with other people in other situations. Because, like you say, it, you don't have to request a special power. We all have it. Question is, will you use it?
Right. Will you activate it? Will you deliberately activate it? Yeah. Don't settle for a checklist life. It's not pleasing.
Well, it's not. And so this is about being more than you can be. So I see by the clock on the wall that, share this with other people. This may be the exact thing that they need to help them open up their world. And so we'll end this session now. So, Pamela, you can kind of close it out there with everybody.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and consider subscribing below so that you will always be included in these juicy podcasts. And also, you can send us information at the bottom of our pages that we have in our background. It has information that you can reach out to us and ask us questions that you'd like us to cover in the podcast. We're not going to be answering those questions specifically, but we will definitely read all of them, and we'll incorporate them in the podcast so that they will be covered. Take care. Bye.